Welcome back to another episode of the Jesus Cartel, where we're here to have a good time, and that's what matters more than anything else.
Okay.
I don't mean that. Winning is everything. What's been going on with you, brother?
You know what? Absolutely nothing.
Nothing? Yeah.
You know,
I don't
I
believe
mean, you said something you don't believe. I say something I don't believe. You know, people have been saying that they've really enjoyed the humor that we've interjected over the last, few weeks. I don't know. I thought we interjected humor all the time, but maybe we've interjected a little more, and
Yeah.
people are really enjoying that. I guess that's what it is. But
Sure.
we're still not here just to have a good time.
Yeah.
We are here to lead people into a deeper revelation of Christ and help them reach their full potential in Christ.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that we've probably let loose a little bit more. Not even because of being comfortable, because I think we were always comfortable, but I think that we didn't know how comfortable people would be with us being more us and less structured, I guess. And then, I have to work so hard to overcompensate for your terrible personality. And, it's not easy.
I'm trying to wonder what structure we actually have.
There's a structure. I got a list. There are things.
Okay.
Yeah, how dare you?
Yeah. I used to wear these clothes in a mall, a company called Structure. They had Structure and they had Express. Structure was for, people like me that were a little cool. Express were for people that thought they were way cooler than they really were.
Okay.
So,
Okay. I don't think I've ever been a part of a fashion trend.
You never heard of Structure or
I've never
Express?
been part of a fashion trend in my life. I get nice clothes at Christmas because people disapprove of how I dress. And so that's everyone's yearly attempt to change me as a person. And I usually just give those clothes away. Not always. Sometimes, I know that, like, hey, this shirt will be necessary if I go to a certain occasion. But normally, I don't keep stuff like that because I just know I'm not going to wear it. And as much as I appreciate people's attempts to make me look civilized, I'm not interested in being civilized.
So Annalise's boyfriend, Chris.
Ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, hopefully. I hate to even say boyfriend, but anyhow, she's always like, I don't know what to get Chris, and I'm like, I know what to get Chris. The boy needs some clothes. He
That's funny.
definitely needs some clothes, and so we buy him clothes every opportunity that
Does
we
he
get.
not? Like, what do you mean when you say he needs clothes?
He
like,
doesn't value wearing good clothes.
What are good? So and this is what I need help with. I don't understand even what you. I have no ballpark idea. In my mind right now, he's in like a Walmart wife beater at all times.
No, he's more like Andrew Skull.
So he's just like above needing people's approval based on what he wears. Because if so, I'm starting to think that maybe she should date this guy.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Neither do I.
I think he just puts on whatever he sees, and he doesn't value having good clothes. He values a good meal, but he doesn't value good clothes.
I don't value that either.
And so, you don't either. So anyhow, we buy him clothes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
We're going to start buying you some clothes, Andrew.
And the Fresh Start guys will really appreciate that. Even though I don't think that Annalise should date until she's 35.
Okay.
I do want to apologize to Chris for how he's being treated with this clothes situation. I find it unacceptable across the board. And so I just want to make my stance clear that even though Annalise should for sure not be in a relationship right now, that I don't think that you should try to change the way the man dresses.
Okay.
Unless he is wearing wife beaters walking around or sleeveless shirts and has no muscle.
So most of his clothes come from Kmart that's been non-existent for years.
I was about to say, I didn't think Kmart was open.
But they're not.
Okay.
But he also drives a brand new Tesla.
Okay.
So that's about what you need to know.
So are we talking like polo shirts? Are we talking T-shirts?
Oh, he'll wear any of them as long as he's already got them and don't have to purchase them.
So he's wearing Tommy Hilfiger that he got from the clearance section of Kmart 10 years ago?
Yeah,
Is that
probably.
okay?
Yeah.
All right. At least I now
Or
kind of have
something
a.
that his Grammy bought him, when he was in high school or junior high.
That is tough.
Yeah.
That is tough. And so here's what you want to do, Chris. You need to go to the 511 store, get you some boots. You can go to Walmart. You can get you some tactical pants for like $20. Wrangler has some. They tear up easy, but it'll get you by. And then you want to get some long sleeve and short sleeve, solid color shirts. And you won't have this problem anymore.
You can look like Andrew.
Dressed to the nines. And so, no, yeah.
So how are things with you, Andrew?
Man, every day's an adventure. Yeah. I did find out I got fired from Fresh Start.
Okay.
And that was news to me.
Yeah.
And so I missed a few days because my wife and children were sick, and then I ended up getting sick, helping take care of them. And when I came back on the weekend to just stop in for a second, people were like, "Oh man, I've been hearing some rumors about you," and I didn't know what they were talking about. There's always rumors about me, and so I was like, "Well, you care to elaborate?" And they're like, "Well, I'm hoping you would." I was like, "I mean, if you can't tell me what I'm talking about, it's gonna be hard for me to elaborate." And they were like, "Has something changed for you lately?" I was like, "Yeah." Things are always changing, man, and so I didn't even know what I was confirming, but apparently I also confirmed the fact that I had been let go. I think we've remedied that. I think I'm rehired, maybe. I don't know. It's not really a conversation you and I have had.
Yeah. When I first heard of it, I was like, man, I wonder who thinks they can fire Andrew.
Yeah.
But anyhow, and I didn't even put it together because even though you were sick last week and missed some work last week, I still saw you.
Yeah, because I also did some work.
Right, yeah. You also did work. You were there on Tuesday. You did work during the week.
And
you did
Friday.
the things that I asked you to do, and then we did Jesus Cartel on Friday and took care of business and stuff. So I just didn't put two and two together.
Sure.
So when I first heard about this, I was wondering why, and then I realized why they didn't see you.
Yeah,
and,
I didn't know what was going on.
And because they didn't see you, and they perceive your boss to be a butthole, then they thought that, well, there's only one good explanation for this.
Yeah. And what I learned from that was apparently I need to take more days off.
Yeah.
Because I missed 3 days. And the conclusion was I have to have been fired.
There you go.
It's like, couldn't have been a vacation. Ain't nobody heard a rumor I was on vacation.
Right. Yeah, he's not at the beach.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Sinners. So, get to know you segment question that I'm excited about, man. It's a little different. It's one of those like just obscure questions. It's not. It doesn't have a lot of depth, and I like those. I don't think that you like them as much, but I do think you'll like this one. The get to know you segment question this week: what is the weirdest gift you've ever received? So I know you're somebody that gifts is a thing. You give good gifts. You like to receive good gifts, and so I thought that this would be a question that might be right up your alley. And so, Clay, what's the weirdest gift you've ever received?
Okay, so I want to answer that. So the weirdest gift that I ever received, and I was thinking about answering it a different way, but I'm going to go straight to the point, was that my youngest daughter, Elena, who is my mini-me, who is one of the greatest people that God ever made and very thoughtful, is not a good gift giver.
And I disagree with this.
Yeah.
I think she's excellent.
She is not a good gift giver. And so a year before last, I guess it was a year and a half ago, birthday before last, she buys me, so she's like 19 years old. She's starting to make some money, and stuff. And so she buys me buffalo chicken soap.
Yes.
Okay? So it is soap in the shape of buffalo chicken, and it smells like buffalo chicken.
What is the shape of buffalo chicken?
So it was like you have the two parts of hot wings.
Oh.
Okay. So maybe I should say it that way. It was hot wing chicken soap.
Gotcha.
Buffalo chicken hot wing
I
soap.
got you. Okay, I'm with you now.
So one side was the leg and one side was the winglet. And together they formed soap. that smelled like hot wings. And she ordered this and spent really good money on it. And by the time you bought it and paid tax and shipping and everything, it was pretty expensive, and it was also pretty offensive. And so anyhow, we got a good laugh out of the gift. And she said, now, Dad, I kind of went out on a limb this time, and it's one of those you're either going to love it or hate it gifts, but I really hope that you love it. And so we had to let her know that I didn't love it. And then we had to teach her how to be a better gift giver. Because we believe that giving people gifts and being thoughtful with people is a big deal, because relationships are the currency of the kingdom, and part of developing relationships is you give somebody something, they give you something. It was in the covenant. We saw that when we teach the Abrahamic covenant. People have done, blood covenants over the years. They give gifts because then you receive something from somebody, so we believe in that. And so we had to teach Elena on how to be a better gift giver. And I will say this, in the last year and a half, we have seen her really trend up and cancel out the patterns of being a bad gift giver and really trend up. Now, here's what we've seen, is that now that she's better at giving gifts, and now that she is really putting thought into it and stuff, she will give you the gift that she gets for you right when she buys it. She doesn't care when your birthday is. She doesn't care when Christmas is. It's going to be for your birthday, but it may be 3 months early, but she's going to give it to you right now because she is so excited that she is a better gift giver than she used to be. So I think it's one of the instances where we've done our family a justice and really benefited our family by letting our daughter know that she was a terrible gift giver and she needed to get better. There you go.
Wow. That's tough.
Parenting 101.
That's tough, man. I think that's an awesome gift. I would be very pleased to receive.
Still have it in
Buffalo.
the package. I will give it to you.
You never opened it?
No.
Yeah, bring me that. I will happily use buffalo wing soap. I'm excited. Matter of fact, I haven't been this excited in a long time. This is a great day for me. And so, no,
all of a sudden now you want to be a gift receiver, huh?
I think, dude, if it's buffalo wing soap, yeah. I don't like gifts, but if there's $1 million somebody's looking to give somewhere, I love gifts, and I'm always ready to receive them. I think that there's something to being honest with your children that is beneficial. I don't, see the gift stuff the way that you see the gift stuff. I do see the value of being honest with your children in difficult situations that you think has value. And, while I don't see the same value that you do see the value. And if you see value in it, then it is important to your family and the structure of the family, the values of your family. And so I do think what you did was important if it is, in fact, something you value, which I know for you that it is. Right. And so, I'm real honest with my kids about other things that people, like, when they hear them, they're like, oh, my God, why did, don't say that, Right. And it's like, no, I'm not being mean to my kids, Like, sometimes I'll be practicing ball in the yard with my oldest daughter, and she'll not really be putting forth effort. I don't expect her to be perfect. I don't even expect her to be good. I just expect her to try. Mm-hmm. And she'll have a day where she's just not really there. I didn't ask her to be out there, by the way. I didn't force her out there. She wanted to do it. And then she gets out there and she doesn't focus, and she doesn't hit the ball real good, and she's not throwing accurately, and she's not catching anything. And she'll be like, well, Dad, did I do a good job today? I mean, well, not really. Today you weren't real focused, and I think that the potential that you have is a lot greater than what you showed today. But we'll give it another shot next time. It doesn't have to be, it's not meant to be ruthless or cold, but I do think that there is a great value in honesty, because if I tell her that lackadaisical effort is sufficient, right, then that will be her bar. for success moving forward. And I don't, to me, that's more cruel than the moment of honesty that is followed by encouragement. You know, I don't think you're a good gift giver, but I believe you can be. Mm-hmm. You know, it's different than, hey, you suck at this.
Right.
You know, that's not what happens.
Right.
But being honest, hey, look, I don't think that you gave your best effort today, but I believe you got more in there, and we'll try again. You know.
Well, just to piggyback off of that, because we've gotten some slack over the years about parenting skills and techniques and things like that. Everybody says that they want their kids to be like your kids until they find out how that happened, and then they're not willing to do it. I think you put something on Facebook this week about leadership being a little more difficult than what people think.
Yeah.
And in order to be a good leader, you have to be able to deal with those things, So I remember, and I'm going to say it was with Annalise, and, just like with Aria, I think it was with Annalise, but I remember one time where I felt like she wasn't putting forth enough effort in something. It was probably ball at that age, probably at the same age as Aria. And she said, well, I tried my best, and so I had to let her know, first off, I didn't think that she tried her best.
Sure.
But instead of saying...
And at that age, you as the parent know better than your kid does about their effort.
Right. So instead of saying, no, you didn't, instead I just said, well, if you did, then your best isn't good enough. So we need to get your best better. Because if that was your best, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that you're terrible. It doesn't mean it just means that we need to work on this. We can do it together.
Sure.
But if that was your best, that wasn't good enough. So we need to increase that in order to get it better. Now, I'm not saying that one conversation was all of it, but we have now seen the end result of that, or a later result of that is that Annalise is always striving to make her best better.
Yeah.
If this was her best today, she wants to increase her best to be able to be better tomorrow. And so that mindset, it's not a mindset of not being good enough. It's not a mindset of never achieving anything. That's not true. It's just that we want to keep raising those levels to where our best is better and better and better. And it doesn't mean that we're not okay where we are. It just means that we're not okay staying there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think those things of being honest with Aria, that, she needs to hear that. And you say it in love, and you say it the right way, and you encourage her for y'all to do it together.
Sure.
Sure. And also, when you're having a day to where you're not as good at throwing the ball back to her as you usually are, you're not as focused as you normally are, or whatever, letting her know that, hey, I'm sorry, Daddy's not doing as good today, trying to help you out, or whatever. Sure. Those are good things too.
Yeah. And I do that for sure. I will always take ownership of my failure. You don't ever have to worry about that with me. And, I know that there's somebody listening right now who's hearing this and their blood is boiling, that we would speak to our children this way.
They're probably grandparents.
Yeah, probably, yeah. And here's what I'm going to say to you. I respect that you have your opinion on the matter, but I want my children to know what they're capable of.
Yes.
And I don't want to hold them back by telling them that their subpar effort is going to get them to a successful place in what they want to do. If Aria didn't want to make the all-star team, we'd have some different conversations. I'd still be honest with her, but it wouldn't matter as much. But she has a goal. She wants to. I could care. I really don't want her to be on the all-star team. To be honest, that's more travel for me. I gotta go places.
More money.
It's just a whole lot of factors involved. I'm really not interested in her playing all-star t-ball. I'm just not. But she really wants to be on the all-star team this year. And for her to do that, there's a certain level of effort that's required for that. And I'm gonna have one or two conversations with her. I can tell her that she's doing great right now, and watch her heart break when she fails. Or I can have a more difficult conversation now and not watch her heart break later. And so Because whether she makes the all-star team or doesn't, if she gives her best effort, that's an easy conversation.
Yeah.
But if she doesn't give her best effort and fails, then she has to wonder why she's not sufficient when she never even gave herself a chance.
Right. And then there's an option C. You can let her not try her best, not strive for greatness, but have this goal that's unreachable. And then when she doesn't, it's unreachable because she's not putting in the effort to do it. And then when she doesn't reach it, you can do the worst thing, which is what we see the most of right now. And that is a parent to say, well, that coach didn't pick you because you're not their daughter, or because they like so-and-so or whatever, and blame it on the authority figure, the man, the coach, or whoever, or they, or whatever, we want to blame it on. And then all of a sudden, instead of learning a lesson from this, that, hey, you have to try harder, work harder, be bigger, stronger, faster than everybody else, now basically we've just taught her that no matter what you do, the man's just going to hold you down anyhow, so why put forth the effort? That's what we see the most of.
Yeah. I want to look at the people right now and tell you that you all owe me a thank you, because I'm choosing not to get on a soapbox that I want to get on so bad. I want to stand up and start yelling about participation trophies and the blaming everybody culture. I'm not going to do it, though. I'm not going to do it. I'm better than that.
Yeah. So all of those, you're not better than that, but all of those that are wanting Jesus Cartel merchandise and it hasn't been done yet, you will never see one that says future winner.
Correct. Yeah, Halsey has been trying to get that shirt made for himself for some time. I don't understand it, but
Halsey's already a winner. He just doesn't see it that way.
Yeah.
Well, so.
I don't know.
Anyhow, so what is the weirdest gift that you've ever received?
So people know by now probably. I guess we've had some newer listeners lately, but I'm not a big gift guy. I don't particularly enjoy receiving gifts. If I give gifts, it's usually out of obligation. And I understand that's kind of the accepted practice, and so I'm not mad about it. It's just not my favorite thing. If I see something that I think would be a really cool gift for somebody, I'm like Elena. I buy it in that moment, and they get it right then. Yeah. That's and so there are times like that where that happens. If my wife or kids really, really want something, I know they want it, I'll go get it for them. I'm not opposed to buying things. Yeah. So it's not that. I'm more opposed to the the obligatory. You have to give a gift. I don't really like that. And so I'm kind of the same way about receiving them. For me, it's I would just like you to keep your money. If there's something I need or I want in life, I'm gonna go get it for myself. And if I can't afford it, you can't afford to get it for me. And so what would be the best gift for me is that you just keep your money, and that'd be fine. And so the whole reason I kind of went back through that quick little spiel is so that you know that I don't get a lot of gifts, right? That's the first thing you understand. I don't get many, It's usually people trying to redress me. That's kind of the norm for me, and that's okay.
A gift certificate to the local barbershop.
Yeah.
Yes.
You
got that.
Yes. And so so the weirdest gift I think I've ever gotten, it was also from my children, because it was just the spirit of it. So I had been in Africa for like 13 days or so, or we've been gone for 13 days or something like that. A lot of travel, long hours. This was the one that had the big 16-hour leg in addition to the other flights. And so, man, I'm all like greasy. I'm beat, and I find out when I get home that my children have planned a party for me. Now, me, my children, and my wife are the only people at this party, but the party is that there's a princess jumper in the backyard, and I need to sit in that jumper while they jump. And so I'm dead. And man, I was so happy to see my kids though. But the weirdest gift that anyone ever thought to get me was that, what Dad would like? Dad would like a princess jumper. That's what he really wants.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
as far as gifts I've received, I'd definitely say that one takes the cake as far as just unusual thoughts go.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but yeah, man, that's having kids is a blessing. And, at least they did know that I didn't want a bunch of people there. And so that was swell. I did have a guy get me a bunch of glitter stars one time.
Yeah, I wonder who that creep was.
Yeah. Yeah. I almost just called you a very terrible name on this podcast.
And we've never edited it anything. So.
Yeah, I would have been in a bind.
Yeah.
Clay one time got me a bunch of glitter stars because I hate glitter, and it was, yeah.
And then I explained to Aria that her daddy had always wanted glitter stars in his office.
And so my daughter dispersed them everywhere, and I dug those out of the keyboard for like the next 8-9 months. There's probably still some in there.
Yeah.
And so
you've actually passed that office down to somebody else. So
now they have to deal with it.
He's probably still fine.
Yeah. Sucks to suck. Last week we finished up. We kind of the first 2 weeks ago we kind of went with one of your analogies and explained it and leaned into it. We talked about writing things in the sand versus writing things in the stone. Thought that was a great episode. Last week we talked about just kind of the beach analogy. The ocean just kind of being the presence of sin and different ways that we deal with the repercussions of being in it, being around it, the things that you have to navigate with it. And I've got some great feedback from some different people on that. I think a lot of people learn well through story, through analogy and stuff like that. And so some of that stuff stuck a little better than some of our normal information, just because they've got something to associate and revisit it with, which is why I think that Jesus taught in parables, for that sticking point. There was no reason he had to do that. He chose to do that. And so, I think there was a big impact. And we got a viewer question this week that is, I want to say, an offshoot of a question we've answered before, or some subject matter we've discussed several times. And, I think that all questions kind of are offshoots of one another, so it's not a problem. I definitely don't mind getting more specific about things, and I think that's what this particular viewer was asking. It's like, hey, you've talked about this, but I'd like to hear a little more specific response. And so what they basically asked was, we talk a lot about not getting offended about things, or at least I in particular really lean into not being offended by things. And so they asked this question. They said, what do you do in a situation where somebody is bad-mouthing you, starting rumors, but whatever, and you talk about like, hey, you're not going to be offended by this, you're not going to let these things hurt you. What does that look like practically? And so, the theory behind it is great. Somebody says something horrible and it doesn't affect you. And in theory, that's a fantastic point. And I think we could all agree that if we could be completely unaffected by everything everyone says, that we would be better off or more at peace. But this particular view is asking, what does that look like practically? Because it doesn't come naturally. So how do I practically receive information like that and then choose not to be hurt by it, or choose not to be offended by it?
Hey, look, I love this question. I really do. The only issue I have, and we can just fix this is really the issue you just need to fix, is that if people are going to ask questions like this, couldn't we get them to do an audio message to where we could have just, hey, the viewer question of the week, and play it? Because I know who asked this question. And I would have loved to have heard this person ask this question on Jesus Cartel. I think it would have been really cool. And then we could have answered it.
So I've noticed a pattern since we started this podcast. You like to say, couldn't we? And then you say, do something. And what you mean is, can't you do this thing?
Hey, I will say this. I own that 100%. I have not been shy about that. I have been shy exactly how this podcast works, and what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses, and what part in this do I play. and which I think is another question for another day. But hey, I think it'd been great. Now I was just envisioning this person saying this question, and and I'm gonna kind of answer it, not just to that person, but to everybody. So first off, I don't know that I've ever said that I refuse to be offended.
Yes.
That is something that I've heard other people say. That is something that I've heard Andrew say. I think he said, "You can't offend me." But I don't know that I've ever said that. I hope that I never have. It isn't because I want to be offended, and it isn't because I try to get offended or anything like that. It's just that I'm always going to leave the door open for me to be offended.
Just in case I feel like it.
Yeah, because I don't want anybody to think they can just say whatever the heck they want to say to me and there's no repercussions, and then I'm going to be okay with it because I'm just generally a nice guy. You know what I'm saying? And I am generally, a nice guy, but I do care about what other people think. I'm not a person that doesn't care what other people think. I like, people to be happy. I am a people pleaser by nature. I enjoy that. I want people to be, to be happy, to be nice, to be courteous. Those are the things I do. I lead by example in that, I try, really hard to do those things. But I don't want people to feel like they can just say whatever they want to say to me and there's no repercussions.
What if they say, with all due respect first?
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything at all.
Okay.
Or they say, well, let me tell you the truth. Or let's be honest. Or, whatever.
I think it's in the Geneva Convention.
you
may need to look that up.
In fact, that's the only thing that I have a problem with the way we record Jesus speaking in the Bible, is because the way we record it, he says, I tell you the truth many times. I don't know what that's about. I'm going to have to do a study on that.
Because usually Jesus is lying.
And I don't
So
believe he was lying before that.
He wants to clarify.
Yeah, I don't think he was lying on the previous statement.
Just about this one thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to be real
After
honest.
this,
Yeah.
let me tell you the truth. And so anyhow, I might have to research it one day, but that's the only little thing that bothers me. So I need to look that up. But it doesn't matter how you approach me with that. If you come to me and talk trash, or you go behind my back and talk trash about me, I ain't trying to get offended. I'm not saying that I ever will get offended. But I am definitely leaving the door open for me to get offended or to not handle it the right way. Now, I do handle it the right way, and I don't get offended. But I don't want people to think that they can just say any lie about me and there's no repercussions on that. Man, God don't like that.
Sure.
And guess what? Neither do I. Now, with all that being said, here's why I don't get offended. And here's why I don't hold it against people. And here's why I don't act out when given an opportunity. Is because I understand that I can only control me. And I'm not going to let anybody else control me. I'm never going to say, well, I hope I never say, that so-and-so made me mad. Because that is giving control of my life to so-and-so. And I don't want that to happen. Because I don't think that so-and-so hears from God more about my life than I do.
Sure.
Because I have the Spirit of God flowing in and out of me. I am present with Him all the time. If God tells me to ask somebody their opinion on something, I do it. I don't just, my plan and that's it. And I am very in touch with God's, plan, His presence, what He's thinking, who I need to listen to, who I don't need to listen to, those kind of things. And so I'm ever present with that, but I'm not going to let somebody else that's not got the same revelation of Christ control me and control how I act. So when, if I do hear somebody say something or whatever, my first mindset is okay, that's their opinion based on the information that they have. Now, I can try to give them some more information, or I can just let them continue to think wrong. You know, but to be honest with you and not lie to you, I really don't see merit in most of those things. Most of those things are things where they're uninformed. And I feel like most people that are uninformed and develop uninformed opinions want to be uninformed. They don't want to hear their other side of the story because it's not as juicy, or it's not as, salty, or whatever you want to call it, and people like drama, and I'm not that guy. And so if I hear somebody saying something or whatever, my deal is all I can do is me. I can choose how I handle those things. I can choose how it affects me, what I think about it, those kind of things. I can choose how I react. I can choose that. I can't control somebody else's thoughts of me. Hey, I can hope that they'll see the bigger picture. I can hope that they'll see my heart. I can hope that they want to get to know me in a way where they won't think that anymore. But at the end of the day, I can't make any of those things happen.
It's true.
But what I can do is decide how I'm going to react to those things. Now, unlike you, I still leave the door open to be offended, hoping to shut down some of that stuff that ain't from God anyhow.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, I don't hear a lot of that. I don't hear it about me. I don't hear it about you. I think that, and I think that we shouldn't. We're men of God walking this thing out each and every day. Do we have different ways that we do stuff? Yeah. Can anybody deny that we're very effective? No. We're very effective in what we do. We're results driven. We see a lot of results in what we do. We've seen that the things that we do have better results than people that don't do those things a lot of times, in ourselves, in our family, and in the people around us, our kids and stuff. And so I really don't think that people should spend time talking trash about us and trying to hurt our feelings or anything like that. And I think they need to spend time on doing what God's called them to do. And we know God hadn't called them to do that.
Sure.
So practically, in my mind, I know that I can only control me.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, a philosopher once said, you just do you, I'm a do me. I don't remember exactly who it was. It's
you
probably
do you, dog.
Sound like maybe Socrates, someone like that.
Yeah, somebody like that. Yeah.
Well, look, first off, I want to address the why does he say, I tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I think that, just to pan away from the humor of it, I think that the reason he says, I tell you the truth, is because he's combating a lie that they've been hearing. You know what I mean? And so he's saying, like, hey, you've heard this over and over and over again, and you've convinced yourself that this is what's true. He said, but I'm the one who's telling you the truth. And so I think he's trying to draw a distinction between societal norms and biblical truth.
Amen. And he is the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think the reason he said it, as like you said, it has nothing to do with his own speech where he's trying to create a division between, I said this before, but now I'm saying. No, the distinction he's drawing is between what they've always heard and what is. And so he's saying, hey, I know that you've heard it said an eye for an eye, but I'm telling you, like, listen to me. I'm telling you this. And he's creating a new understanding of himself as the true authority, and that something is changing from the law, because it's like what he said was actually, I don't want to say against the law, but kind of, because eye for an eye was the law. He
knew the scripture.
And we just read this,
right,
together.
Today.
And so he just said, whatever, if they injure you this way, you injure them this way. And he's saying, hey, I know you've heard it said this. I understand it. And the law is good and right and perfect and holy. He said, but I'm telling you something right now.
I tell you the truth.
And there's a change of mindset that he's issuing in.
So he's not contradicting himself or necessarily them.
Yeah.
He's more showing them the shift from the old covenant to the new covenant.
Correct. And that's, he knew how hard that was going to be to swallow. And so he's saying, like, we understand the old covenant was truth, but I'm telling you a new truth.
So have you ever had anybody come to you and say, Andrew, I know what you've heard in the past, but I'm here to tell you the truth about Clay Russell? That's not what they're doing. They're saying it trying to build themselves up.
Yeah.
Whereas Jesus was letting them know the difference of what was happening, what was coming.
Yep. And so that's my understanding of why he did that, because it is kind of a weird thing to do, And I think that's like one of those conversational pieces that like people kind of say nonchalant, and they don't really mean anything by it. And I say stuff like, if I could be honest, and it's like, of course I can be honest. I can always be honest and should always be honest. So why do I feel the need to preface it? It's just one of those conversational things for me, but I don't think it was for him.
Right.
And so I think there was a distinction being made. So I agree with a lot of the things that you said. I want to make some clarifications on my end as to why I speak differently about it. Being unoffended is not the same as being passive. And so you're talking about like you kind of leave that door open and it kind of like negates a lot of those things from happening. And that's kind of like a nuclear war strategy. It's like you got nukes, we got nukes. If you can get sideways, I can get sideways, and you're right. Absolutely keep some things at bay. If people knew that I was willing to just start throwing hands for anything, any reason, if people knew I was willing to fight people over a rumor that I got fired from Fresh Start, that rumor had never happened. And so I understand that. But what I'm saying is being unoffended is not the same as being passive. I believe, I've always joked about it like this, but I actually believe it, right? And so I've always said it as a joke, but I mean it. I believe that the Lord wants everybody to be humble. I believe it's important. And I think that it's important for everybody in the kingdom to be humble. And sometimes you're on the receiving end of that humility. But sometimes I think the Lord sends me on the giving end. And I don't have to be mad to do it. Sometimes I just recognize the truth about a situation and my feelings won't be hurt about it. And I'm like, I'm about to go address this. It's not because I'm mad. I'm not offended. I'm not hurt. Right. I got no stake in the game. I just realize that if I don't do what needs to be done, this person will think that this behavior is acceptable, and they'll continue to do it, and it's going to continue to affect people. And so I become the humility supplier on behalf of God. And people hate the way that sounds. Right. But the reality is things that go unchecked turn into bad things. Everything should be checked. I tell people when I preach all the time, do not ever believe a sermon because you heard me say it. Go look in the Word yourself. Check behind me. That I'm not saying I'm preaching heresy, but you need to make sure I'm not preaching heresy. You don't need to believe me just because you like me or because the way I communicated was appealing to you. That's not a good reason to believe somebody. You need to check. And if I go unchecked for long enough, because everybody's like, man, I really like when I'm just hypothetically, man, I love when Andrew speaks. He's my favorite pastor of all time. And I'm preaching something that's false, but no one will check me. Well, 10 years from now, I'm preaching a whole false doctrine to a growing crowd because nobody would say anything to me. Now we got a real problem. Yep. What could have been stopped in the beginning, now we got a problem. And so I believe in checks and balances, and I believe that it's important for us to be able to check people when they are operating outside of truth. And sometimes I do that, but it's never because I'm mad. I don't think I have to be upset to address these things. To me, right is right, wrong is wrong. Those are very clear, distinctive lines for me. And when I find something on the other side of it, I'm going to do something about it. It's just that simple. It's it's just business. You know, that's the way that I feel about it. You know, business as usual for the kingdom is right, and we're going to do what is right in the eyes of God. There's no hard feelings involved in this. This is step to the side that it's not right anymore, and now I'm going to interject myself. And so that's why my position has always been, don't be offended, because I think there's danger in having your emotions attached to it.
Agreed.
Because now I think it takes away from the validity of the check. Because like, oh, this isn't really wrong. Andrew's feelings are just hurt. Now I've got no real claim, because if I can't combat that, I was like, no, I'm not mad. Well, now I come off as possibly being in the wrong, even though the situation is being addressed for the correct and proper reasons. You know, if somebody's doing drugs, that needs to be checked. But if I'm so mad because they stole my weed eater when they were doing drugs, and that's the reason I go and check them out of anger, then it's like, he doesn't receive that. He doesn't receive, hey man, I love you, I care about you, this isn't right, you need to. He's like, hey, he's just ticked because I took his weed eater. You know what I mean? And so having control of yourself and maintaining the proper posture in the midst of chaos and in the midst of rumors and in the midst of people having negative things to say about you is going to be paramount to you being able to communicate truth from that place. If you have lost control of your posture in the situation, you have lost your ability to communicate truth. And whether you're right or you're wrong, you'll lose. Because you can't control your posture.
I agree with all that 100%.
Yeah.
That's the reason I said you control you. And we know that we agree on this. We're just
it's a language thing.
We're using a language thing to show people different styles there. And so my deal is, because both of us are going to handle things correctly.
Sure.
You know, we're not going to let our emotions get the best of us and everything. But because we do handle things correctly, if someone assumed that Clay Russell got mad about this, then that would show them to what level they were wrong, because they don't see that.
That's right.
And so that's the reason why I say that I always hold that card, is because I don't want to ever say that I don't do something or never do something when it's still possible. You know, I haven't drank caffeine this year, but I haven't decided that I'm not going to drink caffeine this year. I just don't drink caffeine, you know. Sure. Now, if I all of a sudden drank caffeine because now it's been, 14 months, you would see that as, my goodness, Clay's drinking caffeine right now, but, and I'm not saying that I'm not. So I'm just leaving all the cards on the table.
Sure.
Now, most people can't do that, because if there's cards out there, they're going to play them cards, and that goes to us drawing the line in the sand and making decisions that we're not going to do this and everything. But I kind of like the fact that I got a card out there and I refuse to use it, but I still could, you know. And so to me, it's just more of a challenge to me than anything. But to our regular everyday listeners and people growing in Christ and stuff, hey, draw some lines in the sand, make some bold statements, get you a shirt that says all good days. That way you'll have a good day even when you don't want to have a good day, and count it all as joy. Hey, I love all those things. And so, the question is how do we handle difficult times? How do we handle when people say, things specifically on us and everything? Is, we're going to handle it different according to the situation. Yeah. Sometimes we need to, approach those people on those things, but never out of emotions, because then it won't be taken correctly. Sometimes we just need to let it go. Yep. Sometimes we need to self-assess and look and see, well, what about if they are right? And then sometimes we sure don't need to buy into that, because then we'll be thinking that we're all wrong, and everything. And so we handle it different ways. But let me say this, and I don't know that I've ever said this out loud, so I'm going to try to say it the best way possible. And if I mess up, y'all just hear the spirit of what I'm saying. And I think Andrew could probably say this a lot better. But I'm going to put more value into what you said based on a few different things. Number one, how close we are, and how well you really know me. And number two, how well you're living your life. And how I perceive your relationship to God to be. And people's going to say, well, you don't know my relationship. No, the Bible says we're known by our fruit.
That's right.
So let's just get that on out right now, you know. And like I said, I've never said this before out loud, so I could probably come up with a few more. But basically, if you don't know me, I'm not really, then what you said really isn't going to affect me at all. If you know me real well, and then I'm going to say, well, maybe I need to think about this because this is somebody that does know me real well. If you're living a life that's producing fruit and you know me real well, then man, we're fixing to have a conversation. We're going to have some self-assessment. We're going to get down to this because I want to know, you know, why do you perceive me this way? What am I doing to make you think that? And look, there may be something that I need to fix and we need to talk about it. And I definitely want to have a conversation with that guy.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I mean,
that
if
makes
it's
sense.
a guy that knows me well or a woman that knows me well and their life is producing fruit, you know, to a great degree and stuff, then man, yeah, we need to talk about this.
I agree.
You know, Jeff and I were talking about something the other day, and I love Jeff, and he knows me better than most, and he said, you know, people, when you do this, people could perceive that. He said, I know it's not true because I know you, but they could. Well, hey, that's something that I needed to hear so that I can make sure to try to not give off that perception. The Bible says don't even give up a perception of something negative. Yeah. So even though he knows that's not me, that's not what I do, it's not who I am or whatever, his advice was you need to know that some people perceive it this way so that you can decide to not give off any perception. And guess what? I did. Yeah. And I took it and had the advice. And I could have just argued my point that, well, that's not what I'm doing and I'm right and they're wrong. Well, that makes it even worse.
Yeah. Oftentimes, our ability to be right is the very thing that makes us wrong.
My goodness. You know, this is something that really been thinking about so much. And I don't know if this is a good segue or not, but just because you're right doesn't make you right.
Yeah.
There's so many times.
I know that was really deep for a lot of people. That is not a concept that is probably easy to grab at surface level, but it's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true.
So there is there's something that I mentioned about Fresh Start that I would like to see happen yesterday to Andrew. And I am 100% right that it would be better if we did that.
Yeah.
It would be better for the clients. It would be better for the staff. It would be better for the kingdom of God. It would be better for the people around us. It would be better if we implemented this one change that I've thought about, prayed about, and I know that I'm right about it. I know that it would be so much better if we implemented that change. I know that it's right.
And it's also very obvious that it's right, for the record. This isn't
Right.
like Clay's got this opinion, but the opinion goes both ways. No, anyone you ask, if you polled 100 people, 100 people would say that would be better. That would be right.
But because of the sake of the people involved currently,
Correct.
I don't feel like that I should make this change. You know, now it still doesn't make it less right. I still think it's right. I think it's correct. I wish we would have done it in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't have to try to fix something structurally or culturally, and because that's so difficult. You know, I wish we would have done it this way in the beginning, and then it'd be so much better. But that doesn't make it less right. But is it the right thing to implement?
Yeah.
And the answer is no.
Yeah.
It's not the right thing to implement because of the adversity that it would cause and the issues that it would cause, not just initially, but in the future too. And so where it is the right thing, and everybody on the outside would say it's the right thing, it's not the right thing to implement. So with that, I'm just trying to say that you can be right and still not do what you think is right, and that be the right thing to do.
And we have talked about this. You specifically have said this. I don't know if you said it on here or if you said it during a message, but the right thing at the wrong time is the wrong thing.
All times. Yep.
Right thing at the wrong time is the wrong thing.
Yeah,
It's just that simple.
And so many people say, well, I still think this is right, or I still think this is wrong, or whatever. But at some point, it's not about you being right. You know, I don't know how we are on time or what's going on. We good?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I answered the question about the weirdest gift or whatever, there's another way that I could have went with that. When the girls were young, I don't know how they were, 5 and 7, 6 and 8, whatever it was. They're 14 months apart. But you know how we believe in gifts, and gifts at our house is a big deal, and birthdays a big deal, Christmas is a big deal, and getting the right gifts is a big deal to us. We put thought into it and everything else. Well, when the girls were young, for my birthday, we as a family got tickets to Taylor Swift. And that's what I got for my birthday. Okay, so I'm expecting, some new Oakleys, some new blue jeans. That's when I get T-shirts and underwear, and don't have to have holes and stuff, And my gift, because it was expensive, and probably one of the most expensive things that I've gotten, was 5 tickets for us to go see Taylor Swift when she was popular, but she wasn't like she is now,
Sure.
And so it was one of the weirdest gifts probably the weirdest gift I've gotten at that point. I wasn't a Taylor Swift fan, and I wasn't a fan of her music or anything like that.
Not like you are now.
Not like I am now. And this is where it started. But I was a fan of my girls.
Yeah.
And it's something my girls really wanted, and it just so happened to fall, to get tickets around my birthday time, and my girls didn't know that I wasn't some huge Taylor Swift fan, because they like Taylor Swift. They just assume Daddy likes Taylor Swift. Why? Because I'm not going to tell them any different.
Yeah.
They like this. Hey, they want to listen to it. Hey, I want to listen to it. They had to grow up listening to Ice Ice Baby and Run DMC and all that, because that's what I liked.
Yeah.
So, hey, I'm going to listen to Taylor Swift with them and have a good time and watch them get in their dresses and twirl all around and everything. And so I didn't tell them, they were going to hear it at the first time now, but it wasn't, my favorite gift in the world. Now we go to see Taylor Swift at the time, and I'm able to put them on my shoulders and be the girl dad that God's called me to be, and they're able to touch Taylor Swift, which now, it costs you $1 million to do that.
And you'll go to prison.
But back, huh?
And you'll go to prison.
You go to prison.
Ask my Uncle Rico.
But back then, things were different, and we had floor tickets, and all this kind of stuff, and we had access to the extra stage that they had, and was able to do that. And hey, I was the cool dad, and they loved it, and it was one of the greatest experiences. And we've been able to look back at that, talk about that, and it was really a cool thing for our family. I remember telling Brother Dave that I was going to go to this concert, and he's like, I don't know who Taylor Swift is, and I was like, tell Rachel.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, now I know. Rachel knows. And so I was the coolest dad and everything. So was I right in wanting my jeans and my Oakleys and all that? Sure I was. But at the same time, this was more right, because this is what my family wanted.
Sure.
So it wasn't about me getting what I wanted for my birthday. It was about me receiving what they wanted me to have for my birthday. And in their mind, it was way more important than new jeans and new sunglasses and all that. And guess what? They were right.
Yeah. So you got an example of the right thing at the wrong time is the wrong thing. This is an example of the wrong thing at the right time being the right thing. And I agree. The the deal in a nutshell with me when it comes to offense and things like that, which by the way, they probably sold Oakleys at the Taylor Swift concert. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure that still worked out, or at least I'm sure you came back with some bedazzled jeans or something. But if we're in the youth building at the river right now, and there's a bunch of chairs in here. And so let's say that we needed to move these chairs over to the gym. There's a few ways we could do that. The worst of which would be you and I take one chair at a time by hand and walk it over to the gym. That'd be the worst of the ideas. But if you were insisting that this is how this should play out, and I was so frustrated that you wouldn't participate in a better idea, that I just threw my sucker in the mud and walked off. I said, man, forget this. This is so stupid. I don't want to help you anymore. I'd be wrong. Right. Even though I'm right. Even though it'd be way smarter to grab this.
Better idea.
Even though it'd be way smarter for me to use this cart, I'd still be wrong. And it would still affect us in a negative way. It would hurt our relationship. The chairs wouldn't get moved as efficiently as they could get moved, even though with the worst idea, now you only got one hand to move them. And so that's what offense does. Mm-hmm. Offense takes what could be true, and it ruins the presentation of it. And so that's why it's so important that we don't let offense infiltrate our mind, infiltrate our body. And because offense is, and you made mention of this, offense is usually surrounded by ignorance. Mm-hmm. Ignorance is not stupidity, right? People mix those up when you say, oh man, you're so ignorant. Right. People get real offended that you're like somebody saying you're stupid or unintelligent. That's not what ignorant is. Ignorant just means uninformed. Mm-hmm. So when something is ignorant, it's uninformed. And so usually if somebody has something negative to say about me, it's because they're ignorant. Right. It's not because they're dumb. They're just ignorant. They probably heard one side of something and didn't come talk to me. Right. And so they have no idea what's going on. They just heard something and they went with it, right? That's ignorance. And so am I going to let the ignorant opinion of someone affect me and my family? Right. Because you take that home with you, right? And so when I'm home and I'm sitting on the couch staring into space thinking about how, Clayton Thompson said I'd never be good enough to sell cars for his establishment, and I can't even focus because I'm so ticked that he would even say that about me. And my girls running up to me asking me to play boss with them because that's what they would like me to do, be the boss of their little make-believe companies. And I'm like, I'm not right now. Like, the ignorant opinion of someone has affected my children. I'm not gonna let that happen. I'm just not gonna let that happen. I value who God says I am way too much, and I don't value ignorant opinions at all. And something that, and this is going to be the challenging portion of everything that I'm saying, right? Because again, in theory, all these things make sense. And in practicality, here's where rubber meets the road for me. If I'm offended because someone said something about me, it's because I have allowed a flaw in my character that might make what they said true. I've left something in my character. I haven't given it all to the Lord. I haven't renewed my mind. There's something in my character that when he said I'd never be able to sell cars for him, I've allowed something in my character to remain, that something about what he's saying is still resonating with me. And so that really just irks me. But I'm really not mad at him. I'm mad at me for allowing that to continue to be a part of my life. And here's why I know that that's true, right? Because there's some people like hearing this saying that's not what happens. Here's how I know that it's true. Because if there wasn't a flaw in my character that I was dealing with internally, I would see his opinion as ignorant and it wouldn't matter. But if what he said isn't ignorant, and there is something in my character that might make that thing true, well, now it's an informed opinion that's against me. And that's why I'm angry. Yep.
And that's the reason why, I said the basis of you got to see where it's coming from. Yep. Is it coming from an uninformed, ignorant, opinion, or is it coming from someone closer to you, or is it coming from someone closer to you we are seeing the fruit of God, in their lives, and so back to the Taylor Swift thing, I knew in my mind what was best for my birthday.
Yep.
But because those closest to me wanted my birthday to be different, then I decided to go with that.
Yeah.
You know, why? Because the ones closest to me, that love God, had a different opinion about how my birthday should be this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to forego my own birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Who should know what I want for my birthday better than me?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? They did,
Mm-hmm.
and they were right.
Yeah.
You know.
There were times when I was youth pastor here, I had a huge team. We had like 31 young adults helping in the youth when I was doing that ministry specifically. And there were several times in meetings where we would discuss topics, and I would say, hey, here's what's happening, and here's what I think is the best solution. I'd like to hear y'all's opinions on ways that we could fix this. And there would be, I don't want to say many times necessarily, because I probably had the most experience in the room, but there were definitely some times where someone would present an idea that I had considered, but not considered the way that they're talking about it. Mm-hmm. And the other leaders really, that idea, not my idea, their idea, really resonated with the other leaders. Now, I still don't think it's going to work because I have thought of a version of what they said, but I haven't thought through all of what could go wrong with that specific version. And so I'm not able to flesh this out with them in this meeting. And so I had a choice. Do I go with my idea, which even still I think is the better idea? Considering everything I have thought about and the time that I put into thinking about it, which I know is more than everyone else in the room, because this was my job, this is something they helped with. Do I go with it, force my way, and risk that if this doesn't work, then I've got 30 I told you so's? Or do I let them take ownership of this idea, let it flesh out, and everyone wins? Because either the idea works and they had ownership of a great idea, I get to give them honor and credit for that great idea, or it doesn't work. We're still together. There's no I told you so from me. We're still together, and they have more faith in me as a leader because they remember that wasn't his idea. That wasn't his idea.
And now your plan's there.
And now we move to my plan, and everybody's on board now because we tried the other plan,
That's it.
and it didn't work. And so I had to make a decision in those moments. And in those moments, if I didn't have the ability to properly flesh out the problems with their idea, I'd let them execute it. And I see no way to lose in that situation.
I've said on here before, and we've talked about this privately several times, but I choose to let people win on purpose.
Yep.
I choose to let people win arguments, win ideas, win different things. That was hard for me because I'm a guy that likes to win at everything.
Yeah. Not Monopoly games.
Not Monopoly games.
Yeah.
But just having ideas or opinions or different things like that, instead of bullying my way, I choose to let them win. I say all the time, I choose my battles wisely. I think that you can have the wisest man that we know, and he still doesn't know everything about everything. And if he tries to win every single battle, he's going to be wrong.
That's good.
And the less battles he chooses to win, the more likely he is to not be wrong. Well, I really don't want to be wrong.
Yeah.
I really want to be right. And so the best way I know to be right is to not try to win every battle.
Yeah.
So if I don't have a strong opinion about something, man, I really want to other people. And I think we might have mentioned this with the floor in the children's building that's going down or whatever. I'm sure there's a woman that really, or a man that really believes, that really likes colors, that really is well put together and good at matching and all that really would feel good and honored to pick out the color of the new floor in the children's building.
Sure.
And so can I pick out color? Sure. Have I picked out more floors than most people? Sure. I own a bunch of houses. We remodel a bunch of houses. I picked out colors more than most people I know. But that still doesn't make me right about it. I don't even want to fight that battle. I'd rather somebody that feels good about picking out the color of that floor, pick it out. Well, guess what? Number one, they feel good that we gave them the authority to do that. Number two, they're going to do a good job of it, even if it wasn't the color that I was going to pick out. And then other people are going to say, man, you did a good job picking out this floor. And they got to do something for the kingdom of God that was great for them.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that. That
Yeah.
makes me feel good. But when you have a person that all they care about is being right, they're going to end up wrong.
Yep.
And they're going to end up alone.
Yep.
And that's what happens.
Yep. That's the danger. I think that's a really good spot to put a pin in it for today, man. You got anything else you need to say?
Man, I'm good to go, man. I think they cooking some backstrap at the center or something.
Praise God. We got to go quick.
We got to go do that.
I'm committing to you, the listeners, by the next episode's release, not this episode's release, but by the following episode's release, I will have up an online store for the Jesus Cartel, and those things will be available to you for purchase.
The people have spoken.
Provided that Clay funds it. So there's a caveat. Yeah. Love you guys.
Love y'all. Bye-bye.